I'm a learner, you know what I mean? And that's, I don't stop. Like I'm still like that. I'm like, oh, what can I learn about that? I need to know more about that.
Welcome to Inspiring Teachers, a show bringing you classroom tips, motivation, and stories from successful educators. Join Tavis Beam and Danny Hogger as they explore the why of teaching.
Welcome to Inspiring Teachers. We're back for another edition of motivation and passion for teachers all around the world. We thank you so much for joining us. I'm Danny Hogger, and I'm joined by Kristina Allison. Kristina in her classroom still. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great, and I'm so grateful that you're taking the time as we're getting so close to our holiday break to share some stories from teaching and why you teach. So I am impressed by you. First of all, you do so much, and you have so much great information on your website, and the things you share on Twitter are awesome. Where are some places that people can find you and some of your resources before we get too deep into this?
All right. So, my website is figurativelyteaching.com, and I joke it's because I don't really teach. I just figuratively teach. No, it's really just a play on words because I'm primarily an English teacher, so that's where that kind of comes from. And so that's primarily where you can find me, but you can find me on Twitter at kchevy. Chevy is, Chevalier is my maiden name, so that's why you'll see me like on Facebook as Kristina Chevalier Allison. And my nickname in college was Chevy, so I've never actually lost it. I will still literally answer to Chevy. So, in fact, Crippo calls me, the CEO of Q actually he just calls me K Chevy. K Chevy! I'm like, yeah. And I will totally answer to it. So
I'd go with it, It's not the worst thing you could be called. Oh, is that your motion sensor light?
Yeah, I'm apparently supposed to go home now.
Is that a trigger that happens?
Yes, at like a certain time in the night. It's like, you need to go home.
But teachers can't be told to go home. Teachers never stop, right? We are always figuratively teaching. I mean, one way or another.
Absolutely.
Well, Kristina, that's pretty funny. And I would wonder, how did you come into teaching before, we discussed some of the whys, but what's your journey into education? What's your path?
So my journey, I'm one of those people that I'm the daughter of teachers. So, I joke that I resisted. I'm one of those people that resisted my entire life. I am not going to be a teacher. God, no, I would never do that. I told my mother, I remember telling her at one point, because my parents were both, my dad was a cop first, and then he fell back, and then he fell into teaching after that. And my mom was always a teacher. And and they both ended up in middle school. And I was like, I remember saying this as a snarky teenager, they should really instead of putting people in prison, they should just make them teach middle school.
Wow.
And here I am teaching 8th grade.
It's happening.
8th grade right here.
Yeah, good stuff.
And, I'm like, and this is this is where I belong. Like, these are my people, right? Mm-hmm. So I resisted it all my life. And I was 4 years of college, 1 year of credentialing, and I was in. And I took a little time off to have some babies. So
that's a good reason.
A different kind of teaching, but
figuratively.
Then exactly right. And I just never really left. I've just it was in my blood, and I was born this way. That's how I feel.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a good feeling. I always tell my students, and I did 4 years of middle school, and I'm now doing my first year of high school. Find something that you feel like fits and feel like fits you. Everyone always says you find a job you love, so it never feels like working. But I always tell them, life is short. Don't do anything for too long if you're not loving what you do. So it's great to hear from another passionate teacher who's really enjoying what she's doing. And it sounded like no matter which road that K Chevy was going down, the freeway was leading to teaching.
Right. It was.
So you've been teaching middle school English, and is that what you thought you wanted to teach once you started your road into education?
Oh, no. I was a social studies teacher. Oh my God, that's my passion. I love social studies. It's still my passion. I still love it. I stumbled into English, and I fell in love with it too. And I just kind of stayed. And honestly, because I'm kind of a better English teacher than I was a social studies. I don't know. I don't know. It's a different animal, whatever. And I actually teach computer science now, which is I dabble in that, and that's just so much more fun. That's fun too. that like, scratches an itch I had as well. So
Sure. Yeah. Clearly you love the technology. And I did 2 years of tech
absolutely.
teaching also without curriculum. And so it was really what should we do this week? And like, it was like hors d'oeuvres platters, like, well,
Right.
do, whatever it is, we'll do
And
code.org, and then we'll do Google Calendar, and like figure out like how to set yourself reminders so you don't forget and have to ask your teacher for another day on an extension, right? Plan your time, and just all these tools, and it's endless, isn't it? It's like a ripple of pond that continues to downpour.
It's so fun. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, for sure. So was there a teacher? Was it one of your parents? Was it somebody who turned the corner for you when you decided to go down that road?
I can't really, I'm just one of those people that school was always a wonderful place for me. Like I've always been a learner. So I've always wanted to learn. I was that kid that didn't need a teacher. I was that kid that you could just shove her in a corner and I'd find my way. So I can't really say that. I had wonderful, fabulous teachers, and my parents were very awesome and encouraging and everything. But I can't really say that I had, that one teacher that inspired me, which is, I feel bad about, but it's like, but that's just not as a student who I was. I had great relationships with them. So they fed, me in different ways.
Sure.
But as far as like inspiring me to become a teacher, no, it was already there. Like I'm a learner, you know what I mean? And that's, I don't stop. Like I'm still like that. I'm like, oh, what can I learn about that? I need to know more about that.
And isn't that the best way to inspire students to show, like, don't you feel good when you tell a story about yourself learning and it shows them like this doesn't end in 4 years or 8 years? Like this is something that continues on. And especially like since you've been an English teacher and then social studies before, there's never a finish line, right? You can't ever be done learning it. And going through high school this year, where we're about the midway time of the year when we're talking. From here to the end of the year, I've never taught the material before because I always taught eighth grade social studies, which goes up to like roughly World War I. And now we're going to be into 2. And I'm like, oh boy, there's a lot of details here, so I'm starting to break down like, well, how can we get them involved in learning? How can my students dive deeper on some of these subcategories that our book is going to be shallow in? One of the things I saw on your Twitter from about a month ago now is like, how do you manage boxed curriculum versus resources that extend and reach out to different kinds of learners? And how do you approach that kind of a scenario? What do you do to mix things up?
So that's something that I'm incredibly passionate about because, one of my pet projects, I guess you would say, I don't know. I hate to say pet projects when you say like, oh, what's good for students is not a pet project, right? But, right? So, I am a student of the writing project. So I went through up here at UC Davis is the Area 3 Writing Project. And so, and with the Area 3 Writing Project, it's all about really giving students tons and tons of opportunities for writing. It's all about giving them lots of choice and giving them lots of time and all that good stuff. And a lot of that stuff and inspiring them and getting and building the love of reading. And so it's not a lot of this like, and so much of our focus tends to be this academic writing. And I hate to say it, but, there's a small percentage of students who actually enjoy academic writing. I know it's crazy, right? And like, they're like, I just want to sit down and write an essay right now. No, not many kids want to do that. And so for me, it's like, it's like, I feel like I need to try and show teachers and show my students that it's the same thing. Like, you can write an incredible like blog, you can write poetry, you can write a great story, and then you can turn around and those will just help you write better. Then you can turn around and write an essay probably in half the time it would normally take you because you're such a gifted writer now because you've become so fluent at it and building fluency. And that's what I really try to work at. And when you have a boxed curriculum, sometimes there's not time built in to do those extra fun things that we say are fun and they're extra, but they're really not extra because they're really building sort of capacity, right? Their capacity to be able to do the other stuff, right?
Absolutely.
And so it's like, how do we manage, that box curriculum with the fun stuff, and really convince sort of administration that it's really not, the fun stuff is not just fun, that really is like learning, but it's engaging students to learn, so it will transfer. Does that make sense?
It really does, especially if
Yeah.
you think of the brain as a muscle or anything else that needs to be trained in many ways, and something on the side, something extra is really a skill strengthener. It's an exploration. For me, it's always been very motivational for them. I always want them to learn from my past and my elevation. Like when people had told me like, oh, you lived in Stockton, well, you're not going to go very far. And, there would be people in the community that would have this notion of like what it meant to be where I was from. And I love all the people who are proving that with strong writing and verbal ability come opportunities. I did 5 years with the LA Angels down in Anaheim and was on the morning radio station. And I remember the very first time I went on the radio in Stockton and I put a video up on a very early YouTube, which must have been like 12 videos at the time. And when I put it up, someone said, "You'll never be anything. You don't have the abilities. You can't speak." And instead of letting that break me down, what I tell them is, look, it's your writing and your verbal and your practice is going to make you better. And I made sure I remembered that, and when I was speaking to 150,000 people in LA, then realized that you can accomplish whatever you want and you're the only one that limits yourself. So being able to sell yourself in writing or in verbal ability opens up so many countless doors of any career opportunity that you would want to have. So it's huge.
It's huge.
It's huge.
And I keep, I keep just trying to push for the fact that, I joke with my students all the time, this kind of, we're going to write an essay next week. I'm like, I'm sorry, this is the only time you'll ever write this kind of writing is in school, but, you still have to learn to do it. Then why do we have to learn to do it if we only write it in school? Because you have to. It's as simple as that. We just look at it as, it's like, I hate that we have to, I really wish we had more authentic writing, more, this is real world, like, okay, this is what would transfer to the real world. But, it's a slow path. I think we're getting there. I think that the message is out there. Real life, real world experiences are creeping their way into the classroom. And I think they're even creeping their way into box curriculum. If you've, looked at it, I don't know if you guys are going through a pilot, but I know a lot of social studies teachers are looking at box curriculum right now. And so,
I used to teach in Catholic schools. That's right up my alley.
Hoping that some of that stuff is creeping in because, there's always been such a disconnect academically with what we do in school and what is, expected outside.
Yeah.
So I hope to bridge some of that. So.
Well, even a conversation like this, I think, is indication that there's many teachers who are willing to and who see the benefit. I also see the benefit from you share a story like that with them. They see a connection to you as a real person who was once in their desk. And it's not doing it so much because we have to, but because it can help you, right? And you don't see it at the time. There's plenty of stuff and lessons we don't realize till much later. So I wonder, stemming from that, has your why of teaching changed over time? Is the reason that you teach still the same? And what is it? What is the reason that you are a teacher?
Ooh, that's a very powerful question. I mean, I think I started in this because I love the material. I started because I wanted to teach social studies. I mean, I really did. And then it slowly evolved because I wanted to teach kids. And I think, you know what I mean? And so often that doesn't change for people. And that becomes a serious problem. And so now it's become like, I don't care what I teach, right? I'll teach anything. And I have taught so many things. It doesn't matter to me. I've taught home ec. I've taught, yearbook, leadership, whatever. You throw anything at me, it doesn't matter. I'm teaching kids, right?
Yeah.
So, and that's what, at the end of the day, it's like, I would much rather I used to be so, strict about, I've got to get this done, and very, got to hit my objectives. And now I will definitely stop and, have a conversation with a kid, or, some kid will, we'll have a write. The other day, we did a warm-up workshop, little writer's workshop warm-up, and they were sharing, and somebody said something about putting ketchup on top of fries.
Okay.
So I went ahead and let that conversation go, because I thought it was a very vital conversation to have in an 8th grade classroom, right? I'm like, what on earth, what are you thinking? Like, why would you put ketchup on top of fries? And just having that, humanity and humor and building that rapport is something I don't know that I would have done when I was 23, 24 teaching, that I definitely do now, because I think that's so much more important, that relationship building.
Some days I wish that was the whole thing. I wish that was the class, right? Ketchup on fries was the class. Because I live for those micro moments, It's that smile that I'll get from that'll carry me through the rest of the lesson. We'll reference it twice, but we'll still be moving on. And those are the things, like, that's what's cool about teaching for me. So let me ask you this. If it's the end of the year and they're leaving your classroom, they're getting ready for high school, what's a message that you would feel successful if they carried with them that you imparted to them besides just curriculum?
And I've already, it's funny because I hate, I think teachers are the most humble people sometimes, right? But I had a kid just the other day who said, Mrs. Allison, I'm actually enjoying writing for the first time. Sweet. And I'm like, oh, or I actually finished a book this year. I'm like, I just get so excited when they walk out of my room liking reading and liking writing. And I'm like, I'm glad I did something for you.
Huge.
Right? That it's not all bad.
That's good. Well, you know what, too? That's because you've then affected change. You have actually inspired. And I hope that your story will help inspire more teachers, too, and that maybe you'll come on and talk to us again sometime in the future.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Tell people again, where can they find your resources, your website, and how can they find out what you're up to and how you're leading the way in what you do?
All right. So my website's figurativelyteaching.com, and you can find me on Twitter at KShevy. That's K-S-H-E-V-Y.
Awesome. Kristina Allison. And for Tavis Beam and Danny Hogger, don't forget to like and subscribe. We're on YouTube and iTunes. Danny Hogger Music is waiting for you, and so is the Hogger History Podcast. And until next time, thank you for watching and enjoying Inspiring Teachers, and thank you for teaching Miss Allison. We appreciate it. All right, we'll see you on the next edition. Class is dismissed, everyone. Thanks for watching.